Luis Ortiz will face Charles Martin in an IBF heavyweight eliminator on January 1st in Florida. Now, the strange thing about this fight is that it's on pay-per-view. That's right. You didn't mishear me. It's a pay-per-view fight. Now, this is bizarre because I wasn't under the impression that Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin have a ton of fans. Normally, if you're going to have a pay-per-view fight, at least one of the fighters has to be very popular, have a big fan base, preferably both. But in the case of Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin, I didn't think that was the case. Perhaps it isn't. And therefore, is this going to flop? I mean, how much are the guys getting paid? How much is the network going to make? It is bizarre. That's all I can tell you to have this fight on pay-per-view. Apparently, it's cheaper than a normal American pay-per-view. It's like half price. Normally, they're $80. This is like $40 or something, but I don't know. It's weird. Now, of course, some people are going to say in the UK, you've had Joseph Parker fighting Derek Chisora, which is true. Again, I'm not coming from the perspective of who deserves to be on pay-per-view because they've earned it in their career. No, I don't come from that perspective. I come from the reality of if two fighters are popular, if they bring in the fans and people want to watch them, then they can make it pay-per-view. Just like Jake Paul, for example. People complain about the fact, why is he on pay-per-view? He's just a YouTuber. He's not a real boxer. He brings the fans in. If you bring the fans in, it doesn't matter whether you're a real boxer or not. People are willing to pay, and therefore you're pay-per-view. So with Derek Chisora, he has a cult following in the UK. People also know Joseph Parker. I don't know what kind of numbers it did, but I have to imagine it's going to do, or it did do, the first Chisora Parker fight, better numbers on pay-per-view than this is going to do. Charles Martin, Luis Ortiz. Maybe I'll be wrong, but that's my perception of things. Anyway, if we look at the records of Ortiz and Charles Martin, Ortiz hasn't done anything in his career other than lose twice to Deontay Wilder, and I'm talking about anything of note. Perhaps the Bryant Jennings fight. Shout out to Bryant Jennings, by the way, because, you know, he's a real man, standing up, saying the things that need to be said in this time. And, you know, I got the most amount of respect for Bryant Jennings. But that was Luis Ortiz's best win. That was the last time he beat anybody with a pulse, actually, was Bryant Jennings back in 2015. Since that time, Luis Ortiz has beaten nothing but cream puffs. Let's be real. Tell me somebody on his record here that isn't a cream puff in terms of wins. No disrespect to Dave Allen, right? But tell me somebody there that's actually got a pulse. Nobody. So he hasn't beaten anyone with a pulse since 2015, nearly 7 years ago. All right. So this is the guy, however old he really is. I'm sure he's listed at 42 now. I would add a few years onto that to get close to his real age. Then we got Charles Martin, former IBF champion, famously knocked out by AJ, said he walks the earth like a god and all that stuff. He also hasn't beaten anybody with a pulse in a long time. Now, he did beat Gerald Washington, who beat Robert Helenius not too long ago, and Helenius is having a little bit of an Indian summer now. So in retrospect, maybe that's not such a bad win. That was last year, 2020. And Charles Martin had no issues with Gerald Washington, by the way. He got rid of him, from what I can remember, quite comfortably. It wasn't a difficult fight for him at all. Prior to that, Daniel Martz, I think that's a common opponent. Him and Ortiz have both fought that guy. Greg Corbin. He did fight Kalnaki. That is a guy with a pulse, but again, he lost the fight on a decision. And prior to that, lost to AJ. Glaskov had a pulse. I'm not sure what's happened to Glaskov. Let me just check out of curiosity here. Yeah, that was the last time he fought, was against Charles Martin. So that knee injury must have really been terrible for him to have never fought again since that time. Anyway, it's a fun fight, I would say, between Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin, two southpaws. Charles Martin 6'5", Luis Ortiz 6'4". Both guys can punch. Luis Ortiz is the technically better guy. Charles Martin is younger, fresher. Yeah, I think it's a fun fight for January 1st. It's fitting that it's on January 1st because the fight does have a slightly bizarre quality about it, a slightly Twilight Zone. There's just something a bit offbeat and strange about this matchup, but in a good way. You know, it's like, it's surreal. it's going to feel surreal, at least to me, watching these two guys in the ring. You know, strange, but as I say, in a good way. I'm looking forward to it. Would I pay $40 to watch it? Definitely not. But apparently there's going to be the heavyweight undercard. We can check it here, actually. So on the undercard, you got Frank Sanchez versus Carlos Negron. And isn't he the guy that fought Dominic Brazil? This Negron guy? Let's have a look. Yeah, he got stopped by Dominic Brazil. Also got knocked out by Brian Howard. So this is the guy they're putting Sanchez in with. Doesn't look like a particularly tough challenge for Sanchez, does it? So I'm not too enthused about that fight. They've got the Jonathan Rice Michael Coffey rematch. Now that could be interesting because the first fight was interesting between Rice and Coffey. You see it there. Rice won the first fight by 5th round TKO. That was somewhat of an upset. Rice has ability though. If you've seen Rice prior to the Coffey fight, it was clear that he had ability. He just, I don't know, lacked the self-belief or the stamina or something. But against Michael Coffey, he came good. So yeah, that first fight was interesting. Rice ended up winning by stoppage. So that matchup right there is something that I will definitely watch and look forward to. Gerald Washington, that name again, is fighting a guy called Ali. Well, I won't even try and pronounce the surname there. Who is he? Okay, a German-based Turk. Never seen him before. He's got one loss on his record to Efe Ajagba. Okay. See, there are loads of times when I say I haven't seen certain fights, and then you guys will pop up in the comment section or in one of my Discord servers, and you'll post a link to my post-fight review where I have seen one of these guys fight. I mean, for example, I recently spoke about, who's the guy? See, I forgot his name. I'm forgetting things all the time. The guy who just fought Marcus Morrison and beat Marcus Morrison, the super middleweight, Frank Warren's, super middleweight contender. I forget his name. I thought I hadn't seen him fight before, but I actually did. I saw him fight that, was it Darrell Williams? And Darrell Williams got horribly robbed in that fight. So I do remember that one. And I had seen him fight before, on more than one occasion. But anyway, yeah, my memory's a bit like that. I do forget quite a bit these days. I've probably forgotten more about boxing than I remember at this point, having watched it over, several decades. But I don't remember seeing this guy fight. Let's just put it that way. Apparently for Efe Ajagba, but I don't remember seeing it. So, if there is a post-fight review that I've done for this one, apologies, but my memory's a bit like a sieve at the moment. Anyway, that fight right there, I mean, I shrug my shoulders. I don't know how good that's going to end up being. Then you've got Victor Vikist, I don't know how to pronounce that, against Kaladze. Again, Kaladze is a cruiserweight who's fought, I guess, stepped up to heavyweight now, but he has fought the likes of Efe Ajagba. He's fought Joe Joyce, lost both those times. His last fight, okay, so he's staying at heavyweight. And yeah, that's the lineup at the moment. Doesn't seem fantastically strong, but heavyweights tend to produce fireworks even at the lower levels. Big knockouts and stuff like that. So maybe it will be successful. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. The main event, though, to me, is definitely the most interesting on the card so far. Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin. How do you guys see that going? I think that Ortiz should be able to outbox Martin, but if Martin really applies the pressure, if he isn't intimidated by the big backhand, he might actually be able to get a win in this fight. I think Martin will probably have to knock Ortiz out. I don't know whether he's technically good enough to outbox him. He'd have to just, put the earmuffs on, march in, and really try and go to town on Luis Ortiz, who, at 42 plus, whatever his real age is, he's not going to be any more durable now than he was a couple years ago. Both his Deontay Wilder loss, he's not going to be more durable now, is he? So he is there if you apply enough pressure to be stopped. It's just whether Charles Martin can get the job done, whether he's willing to eat some of those big left hands to get his own shots on. So Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below.